First of all, I want to start off with, I want to thank you all for being here. I know, like myself, we all just came here right from work, most of us, and we're giving up time that we could be eating, sitting back, relaxing, watching American Idol, or doing God knows what else to relax and enjoy ourselves, like most people do. But instead, we're sitting in the room talking about politics, oh God, and we're hoping that we're going to change what's happening out there because we seriously are concerned. So the first thing is I want to thank you because you're right. You deserve the recognition of saying, yes, we appreciate what you're doing. So going on from that, today I wanted to talk a little bit about the Fourth Amendment jobs and how that's going to impact the 22nd District of New York, as well as the nation. And I also want to address a couple of things that Mr. Warner had mentioned, Dr. Warner. Dr. Warner was correct. The most important thing that we could possibly do is be involved. For whomever you believe is the right person, the person that embodies the views and ideas that you believe in. It is, in part, the lack of the nation being actively involved, lack of participation in what's going on with our government, in asking our politicians what's going on, in holding them accountable to the decisions that they make. That's helped to get us to where we are today. But at the same time, let's also look at what have our politicians done. Because they're taking that and they've been running with it. They are acting as if they were a modern-day nobility. The average person in Congress right now has been there for about 25 years. The re-election rate is 93%. It is almost easier for someone to die in Congress than to be elected out of Congress. And the only reason that's true is because we keep re-electing. And I disagree with that. I think that we can stand up and bring accountability back into Congress by shaking them up, by reminding them that we can vote. And when people say to you, and when you think about it yourself, well, I'm only one person, I'm only one vote. In 2012, the primary race for the Republican candidate in the 22nd District of New York, which is the same district we are right now, going from Broome County to Pennsylvania line, past Utica, Rome, into Oswego and Herkimer, there were 15,000 people who voted. There are 165,000 Republicans. There are 770,000 people in the district. 15,000 people decided who was going to carry the Republican ticket, and in this district that leans heavily towards who's going to be representing in Congress. 15,000 with a 93% re-election rate. Do you think your vote counts? I know it does. You have the ability, all of us, if we only got 1, 2, 3 people that we said, go out there and vote, no matter who you're voting for, to get out and vote. 2,000, 3,000 people, you have instantly changed the vote. That is 1/3 the vote that didn't exist before. You can elect anybody that you want with 3,000 people. The power is truly in your hands. All of us in the district. And the more of us that come out, the more we're going to get a representative that is true to what reflects us in our values and what we want to see in Congress. But now that said that, let me also address what are some of the things we're expecting from them in Congress. What do we want them to do? Well, let's look at the issues of the day right now. The Fourth Amendment. It's a very important issue because it also ties into jobs. And I know a lot of people will say, how? Explain. But it's an important issue right now. We've seen over the summer of 2013, scandal. One of the big ones, the NSA. Our government has a copy of every cell phone call you've made, every click on the internet. Some even speculate they may have every credit card transaction you've ever made in the time that they've been doing this program. That's terrifying. But it gets worse. The government has this information for an unlimited amount of time. They have no intention of ever getting rid of it. It gets worse. We have no idea what they're going to do with it. I have no idea, and no one can answer the question, why does the government need to know what my nephew, 16 years old, what phone calls he's made? What does the government need to know what my mother, retired, not great with computers, every email she sends? Why does the government need to know that 20 years from now, 5 years from now, 6 months from law-abiding citizens who are innocent until proven guilty? And we've had the opportunity to have our lawmakers step up for us and say, no, that's not acceptable. You can't just go out there and just pick on people that way. It's called the Amash Amendment. On July 24th, they had a vote about it. The Amash Amendment, also known as HRES 113, in case you want to look it up, said only one thing. The government cannot arbitrarily pick on you and I. There has to be a reason. They need a cause. You are accused of something, or you are being investigated for something. It's the only thing it does. And then they can go out and do what they're doing right now. Our representatives let us down. They voted against it. It is not law. Now that would have been actually the solution that President Obama was talking about when he got together yet another committee to investigate all the solutions that he could turn around and say, I'm not following any of those items. He's done it with jobs. He's done it with every committee he's had. Doesn't listen to the recommendations, and he did it with the NSA. But the real answer was already in front of Congress. And hopefully, God willing, I'll bring it back again as well. That is the solution. You can't pick on innocent Americans without a cause, because we're innocent until proven guilty. Now, that's just one example of it, though. But it gets more complicated, because the NSA doesn't stop at just your cell phone, or whether the government's getting a catalog of your credit card transactions. Our government's moving forward faster and faster. And there's an issue that a lot of people haven't paid attention to, haven't heard about, that's going to be very important. Drones. Unmanned aerial aircraft. You've heard about them. We've been using them in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, and all these other places around the world, but everyone's forgotten that, guess what? We're also using them here in America against other Americans. Not to bomb them, at least not that we've been told, but they are using them. In fact, when FBI Director Mueller sat in front of Congress last summer talking about drones and how the government's been using them, he said there are no rules. They're still developing their set of rules on drones that they have been using in cases against people. That's an important statement, because when he said that in June, everyone took him at his word. Well, they just started using these things. We just have the new laws that are coming out. Drones are going to be out in 2015. And then we found out in September from the LA Times, actually, the FBI has been using drones, along with the DEA and about half a dozen other government agencies since 2006. That's important. 2006. They still haven't figured out how to make rules yet. They have no set of rules, but from 2006, they've been using drones against the average American citizen. That's scary. And we already know that the government will abuse the power that they have, because we've seen it with the NSA. And I tend to believe that when you have an agency that doesn't respond well to being asked questions, and we'll come up with something like, well, we're working on that, while they're actively using it, I don't think we can say, oh, I'll trust you. Now, that's terrifying, this combination of thoughts. And we have an opportunity to do something about it. Except in 2015, we're going to have drones out. Businesses are buying them. Our local law enforcement will be using it. In fact, government from every level, from the federal on down to the local police department and fire department will be able to have it, as well as private businesses. Walmart, Amazon, name the company. They all have a fleet of drones that they're building right now. And what are they going to be doing with these things? What rules, what laws are protecting us for that? And most people will go, well, we've got the Fourth Amendment. That stops the government from abusing its power. Except there are no laws that actually apply to drones. They're such a new technology. They're such a new idea. None of the laws apply. The government can, if they were to choose to do so, and possibly with the FBI have already done so, park a drone at your bedroom in the middle of the night and tape you sleeping. No, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that. Except NSA guys wouldn't go out and randomly look at the emails of women that they're thinking that they might want to date to find out about them. And yet they did. So if they can do that, why wouldn't they take a drone and put it anywhere they want? Anywhere they want. Because there's absolutely nothing. Even if you caught them doing it, you still can't do anything about it because there's no law to stop it. We have opportunities to do something about that. In New York State, January, we found out that we've been picked as one of the 2 initial testing areas across the United States to test drones. This is the first wave to actually creating drones for all of the nation to be used by all these industries. And this is a growth industry. It will create 2,000 jobs, hopefully in the district of the 22nd, which is important. There are a lot of people in our district, up in Griffiths, up in Herkimer and Oneida, they need the jobs. And I'm happy for them. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't give them those jobs, they need them. I'm in favor of that. But I'm in favor of doing the full job, not half the job. The job is only half done to say, we're bringing in a new business, and we're going to create new jobs. What about the other? What about our protections? What's going to protect us from the government misusing this? What's going to stop a business from misusing this? What's going to stop somebody who decides to just buy one of these things from misusing this? We need legislation. And some would say, well, laws tend to follow afterwards. When you have a clear and present danger, and you have the opportunity to know that this is something that can be a problem, and the government has an issue with this kind of a problem, to have power without limit, why wait till they actually abuse it? When it's as simple, just like the Amash Amendment, to do something about it. In fact, 43 states have already put out legislation to, in some way or another, limit drones, not New York State. And we have, there's been several members of Congress who've stepped up. Chuck Grassley is a senator out of Texas and out of Wyoming, not New York State. But in New York State, we did have the drone caucus being represented. And they pushed to get the drones in. And we have it. And we have absolutely nothing else to go with. I disagree with that. What we have effectively done, in my opinion, is we have sold part of our Fourth Amendment rights for 2,000 jobs. 300 million people will be affected for the cost of 2,000 jobs for the rest of their lives. With videotape and God knows what other surveillance information collected by the government for an unlimited amount of time, revealing unknown amounts of information about ourselves for a purpose that no one can tell you what it is. I do not feel that is a fair trade. We need our legislators to step up, and we need for them to finish the job, to create that drone legislation. And I would love to see the drone caucus, the very people who are pushing these items, these machines, to be the first ones to step up and actually create that legislation. But they've had 3 years, and they haven't. It's not even on their list, on their agenda. If you look it up on the internet, it is not one of their 5 points of what they're trying to target with drones. We need a change. I strongly believe that. We can create jobs and respect the Fourth Amendment.